Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Life Magazine. Today we have Mr. Ben Rood, the director, writer, and producer of Don't Run. And it's a great movie. It's out on Amazon Prime. I had the pleasure of watching it myself a week ago, and I think if you check it out, I think you will enjoy it. It was a different movie for me, so it kind of caught me off guard because I read the synopsis and everything, but I didn't expect what I saw, but it was great. So check it out. So, Ben, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Clint?
I'm doing good, good, good. So, why don't we start out by you telling us about yourself? I know you're from Cincinnati, where my
Oh
university.
yeah. Yeah, man. Bearcat roots.
Bearcat.
Uh so yeah, I'm a filmmaker in Cincinnati, and I'm 31 now, but prior to this, there was just a long road of just going to film school, and then, after film school, I did pretty well there, and it led to an internship, which led to a little bit of work in LA, and then just grinding out there for just years and trying to get noticed. But, small fish and just, seven oceans of just very talented people. And eventually, it didn't work out there. And I ended up coming back home to Ohio when I had roughly $1 left to my name. And it was in Ohio where I was able to live with my parents and save my money and end up making my own movie. And that is actually what's kind of gotten me some clout now. And I'm just slowly starting to build my own business from doing it back at home.
Okay, good. Cincinnati. You can do things in Cincinnati.
It's a good place to be.
So, what actually got you started in the movie business? When you were a kid, did someone influence you, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. My mom is just ridiculously into movies, and so I was 5 years old, and my mom would sit me down, and I wanted to go outside and play baseball and stuff with my friends, and she'd go, "Oh, you need to watch The African Queen," which is like a black and white movie from the 50s, and for a
Right.
5-year-old, there's people that don't even watch that now. I was 5, and she goes, "Oh, this is the best," and so it took a little getting used to, but she would sit me down. We'd just watch all these classics, and that's just the way that she wanted to spend time. It's great. She's a very lovely person. And it just really got me into just telling stories. She made me
Okay.
watch Jaws when I was 6, and that's still something I kind of hold against her. It scared me. I didn't get in the bathtub for a week after I saw Jaws when I was 6 years old.
Yeah, my mom kind of did the same thing to me. So I was the only one of her three kids that would go to the movies with her. So every time a
Nice.
movie came out, she grabbed me, and I don't even remember how old I was, but she took me to see The Exorcist.
Oh, no.
So all I was dreaming about was head spinning around and stuff.
Yeah, spitting green goop.
Yeah. So yeah, my mom did the same thing.
That's probably for the best, because you go to the movies isn't really it's not cheap. And so if you've only got one person that you got to pay for, aside from yourself, you're probably going to get to go a lot more often than having to worry about taking the whole family.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Nowadays, movies cost a lot of money to go to.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe if people would quit stealing them on the internet.
Yeah, hey,
Just
I agree with you
saying.
there. I agree with you there. So at what point in your journey did you realize that you wanted to be a director and a writer or a producer, or did you realize them all three at the same time, or?
It kind of happened as it needed to be learned. So when I was in film school, I went to Ohio University, and I wanted to be a screenwriter, and that was the extent of it. And I would talk to my buddies, and we all wanted to be screenwriters. It's really interesting how, everybody wants to be the writer, probably because you can go home and, just do your work, with the TV on in the background, and then just turn in your script and say, "Hey, I'm done here. You go make my movie now." And,
Yeah.
it's if it sounds like it's going to be a little bit less stress, not that being a writer is easy, because it's not. The competition is just so fierce. And when nobody was being willing to produce any of the stuff that I was writing, I was just kind of, all right, well, I'm going to take a crack at directing, and we're just going to learn how this is done. And when I only had a few friends who were just really, really willing to put in the work with me, which is a lot, especially back that early in the game, you kind of learn the producing skills yourself to kind of roll up your sleeves and get dirty with it. And that's just like the business side of it. And then the creative side is the directing. And then before you know it, you're just doing all three just kind of out of accident, just because you really love the process. And your first stuff starts out terrible, as mine did. And then if you just keep at it, it just gets better and better. And then it gets to the point where if you write something, at least for me, it's really hard to think about somebody else directing it because you've kind of got your groove down. And when you're writing it, you know exactly what it's going to look like, give or take. And it's just, being a director isn't work anymore. It's just a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah, I noticed you said that when you first started, it wasn't good, and then
Oh, it was bad.
worked up to something that's great. So in that journey, what would you focus on the most as being like something you really learned that really helped you get to the next level?
Being realistic. And you have to remember, I took a theater class in high school, and something that my teacher said was, if it sucks on the page, it sucks on the stage. And, it really rings true in film as well. So having table reads and really being able to be knowledgeable of what plays on the page and how it's going to look on screen as well. And you kind of learn that when you start shooting, and you start learning what additional narration you need to throw in there to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Right.
So it's just kind of learning what translates, and communication as well. And that goes in any business, I think. We roll up on set sometimes, and the actors or the assistant producers would say, okay, so we got this ready. And I'd say, that doesn't look at all like what I was expecting. And you don't want to be figuring that out on set in front of people when the clock is ticking if you can avoid it. So just being as clear, keeping clear communication before you get to that point is absolutely imperative.
Okay, that sounds good there. What about casting? When you're going to cast people, as a writer, you got these certain characters in your mind who you want to play certain roles. So how did you go about that? You did the casting, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, it's like, who's going to work for free?
Right.
That's when you don't have any money. It's just, all right, cool. So what can I get for free? But really, if your heart is in the right place and you're really trying to make something great, and if you just take your time and you just keep looking for that person, then you're going to be able to find them. So even though it was a $40,000 movie, and I was paying actors, like $100 a day or so, non-union. And I just said, this is this low budget movie. It's my first feature. And this is the script, and I care a lot about it. And I'm just going to put all my blood, sweat, and tears behind it. And if you could have that conversation, it's really hard to find, but there are a few people out there that are going to share that same drive. And it takes longer to find them, but it's going to be worth it in the end. And the people that I found that I was paying, I wouldn't trade them for anything. And I found them off of Backstage, which is a casting website. I went through over 1,000 headshots and audition tapes and casting agencies around the Midwest that I contacted, and I was just fully transparent on the style of movie that I was trying to make, and they sent me over some people. And the casting agencies are just a dream to work with, and I think it was probably 50-50 between the online websites and just going to the casting agencies.
Okay, that's good. That sounds like some more good advice there.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you really have to be patient when you're looking
Absolutely.
for a certain type of person to play the role.
Yeah, patient. And then the Danny Irizarry would come up to me and he'd say, "Hey Ben, I'm kind of thinking this for this," and I'd be like, "Yeah, that sounds good," And it's just kind of a give and take, and you want your actor to feel like they're able to make their own decisions. Because that's what's going to make them more invested in the character, because they're going to be playing something that you want. As long as they have that base foundation in the beginning, you're good to go. But you can't just be a complete dictator the entire time, or they're not going to have fun, and the audience is going to be able to see that.
Right. Okay. Now, Don't Run is your movie. And
Yep.
So tell us how that came to be.
So I knew I wanted to make a movie, even though I had like $1, and 5 maxed out credit cards, and I was, coming up nearing my 30s, and all my friends are getting houses and starting families and all that good stuff. And I'm just, I guess the only thing that's really going to make me happy is just if I do make a movie. That's what I've always wanted to do my entire life. It's going to be a different kind of lifestyle, but don't die wondering. And so I was just kind of, what movie can I make with my dollar bank account? I'll be able to work and raise money. So I got jobs as a furniture mover and eventually as a part-time firefighter. And I just used those incomes and I just built up my bank account and tried to find a script that would reach an audience that could also be made cheaply. And so I think Don't Run came from just the anxieties of just the uncertainty of just going for it. And, I think there's a lot of parallels between the monster and the movie and just kind of what I was feeling, without getting too deep and cheesy, but there's just a lot of what I was feeling as I was writing the script that's in the movie. And from the reviews that people are leaving, I think people can kind of sense that. They can tell that it's not just another cheap horror movie. There's a lot of heart into it. And it was just a story that I really wanted to share with people. Sometimes you got to roll the dice or else it's going to keep you awake at night.
Right. It kept me interested through the whole movie. So I hope people go out and check it out. Don't Run on Amazon Prime. I know you have some very interesting stories about how you went about raising money and things that happened while you were out doing that. Why don't you give us a couple examples of things that you did in your career?
Oh, man. I would say, so back when I was in Los Angeles, my main gig, after I had some studio work and it was freelance and it kind of dried up, and I was lucky enough to find a consistent, 40, 50 an hour week day job as this glorified landscaper. And what they would do is they would send me out to celebrity clients. They had a high profile clientele because they had very expensive trees, and I would go into these people's houses and yards and plant them. And so, I went over and I met Giovanni Ribisi. I met Oscar Nunez, I believe. Oscar from The Office. He's an amazing guy. And Ellen DeGeneres. I hit on her wife, Portia, and I didn't know it was her. And there was this beautiful woman. And I'm just walking down, carrying this tree on my shoulder. And when I saw this beautiful woman nearing me, I kind of rolled my sleeve up a little bit. And I was just, what's up? And she was just, oh. And I found out later that, that was completely uncalled for. And I think my favorite, so Courtney Cox, we did a lot of business with her. And, she's just this beautiful woman I've just always kind of grown up just admiring. And so went over to her place, and, she lives on a very high floor, and she wasn't there. Her assistant was there, and she said, yeah, Courtney said, go ahead and just plant the tree in her bedroom. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so I go and I see the flower pot sitting next to her bed, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I never thought I'd be in Courtney Cox's bedroom before. And so, it's my first week on the job, so I still don't know entirely what I'm doing. I put the tree in the pot. I gave it 2 gallons of water. And the next thing I know, as I'm walking away, I just kind of hear this trickle. And I look back, and there's just the water flowing out of the base of the pot onto the floor. And there's just 2 gallons of water all over this floor, which is a lot spread out. And so, panic mode, I get down in my T-shirt and jeans, and I just start rolling around in it like a human sponge. And, I'm doing this for a few minutes, and I'm trying to be as quiet as I can because the assistant is in the next room. And so by the time I get up, I look at the floor. It's a different color. I'm completely soaked. And I just kind of walk out shamefully to the assistant, and she looks at me, and I'm dripping, and she just goes, did everything go all right in there? I go, yeah, just sweat a lot. And she goes, well, Courtney's on her way up the elevator if you want to meet her. And I said, oh, that's very nice of you, but I got to get out of here. So I took my little broom and my watering can. I stepped out the window to the fire escape. I just booked it all the way down to the street. There were a lot of floors.
Wow. But you did a lot of things. And I understand that you're a firefighter too, right?
Yeah. I've been a part-time firefighter for about 2.5 years now. Okay. And that is a whole nother can of worms. It's been an amazing experience, and it's really just opened my eyes to like what's worth sweating and what's not. You're dealing with a lot of big issues all the time. And it's been a really, really awesome experience.
Okay, that sounds good. So we're still in the midst of this pandemic thing. So what exactly have you been up to during this? You know, you can't really make movies, I'm guessing. So
Yeah,
a lot of
you can't
writing.
make movies. A lot of writing. Yep. You look down here. Here's the script for the new one that I'm doing.
Okay.
There's the shooting schedule for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting all that done and just preparation. There's a lot of clerical work that goes on behind the scenes of a movie that isn't as sexy as actually like watching the shoot or like the production of it. And so, just my producing partner and I. Here he is. This is Dan. We've
Okay.
just been working to get this next project that we're shooting in September, get everything all just ready to go. But I mean, with firefighting, it's an essential job. So fortunately, taking a pay cut hasn't been an issue.
Right. Okay. Uh, so I want to tell us about this new movie you got coming up.
So the movie I got coming up is called Movers Ultimate, and it's going to be largely influenced by the 4 years that I spent moving furniture. And it's about these two guys, they're best friends, they're 28 years old, and they're trying to get off work from their just lousy furniture moving job so they can make it in time to their 10-year high school reunion that's going on that night and reconnect with the girls that got away. And so it's just a really, really fun buddy comedy that I wrote. It's going to have some inappropriate language. And yeah, it's just going to be a good movie. It's going to be a nice comedy. I know that I shot a horror this past time. There's definitely elements of comedy in Don't Run. But it's just another good story that I want to tell about just good buddies who have each other's back through thick and thin with just a lot of belly laughs in between.
Okay. So which do you prefer, horror or comedy or another genre?
It's tough. I got this comedy that I'm coming up with, and I know I'm always going to have these elements of humor in everything I do. So maybe that's what rings closest to home. But then down the road, I've got a Western that I want to make. And then I've got a firefighter movie that I want to make, which will be kind of similar in tone to, this is down the road. And, this is just if I'm lucky enough to find the financing to do it, because with a firefighter movie, you really got to be able to do it right. But it'll just be kind of in the tone of Rescue Me, if you ever seen that show, where sometimes you're just laughing your butt off. And then sometimes, you're crying your eyes out just because that's how that job goes sometimes.
Okay. You got plenty of experience there. So.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 2.5 years, and I like to think so. But there's guys who've been doing it for 32.5 years, and I don't even talk to them. You just keep your head down. If they're talking, you just listen. You do not speak up.
Right.
It's just respect.
Okay. So who do you credit as the being most influential person in your movie career? Is there an actor, director, or writer that influenced you the most?
Yes. There's a lot of people that I've grown up watching, and Judd Apatow is definitely one of them. I never was really interested in sci-fi or fantasy, big budget action movies growing up. I'm getting more into them now, but I think what Judd does is he takes relatable messages and he just makes them interesting for everybody. He makes them so funny. I think Trainwreck, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, they're amazing just stories, and they're so funny, and they're just entertaining all the way through. He's huge. And I would say Jody Hill, who did the movie The Foot Fist Way. He went on to do Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals, a TV show, some other stuff. But what's interesting about him is I think that he's just genuinely hilarious, and he proved that you can about $60,000. It was Danny McBride's acting debut, and he just did it because he loved it. And he just did the best he could. And look at him now. Just you start small, and you just build and build and build. And I would say if there was one other person, and this is I tell my camera guys about this guy. I said Peter Weir, and he's this director, and he did like The Truman Show, and he did Dead Poet Society, he did Witness, and just the style and this feel of his movies is unlike anybody else that I know. It's just got this kind of floating feel, and it just kind of seems just next level. I can't even describe it. I don't want to sound stupid. It feels like there's like a spiritual experience going on whenever you're watching something that Peter Weir's worked on.
Okay. So I take it that you still watch a lot of movies.
Oh, all the time.
Okay, getting ideas and things for put in your upcoming movies and yeah.
Yeah, you get ideas, but I mean, I just love movies, you know. I'll sit on my butt. Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, it's all just sitting at my fingertips. I have so many movies that I can watch right now. We're just absolutely spoiled today.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So, what advice would you give an up and coming person that wants to get into the movies? Say a director, um, producer, or writer,
I
or
would
an
say,
actor.
or an actor. I think this kind of goes for anybody. Uh, and it's based off my experience. I'm not going to tell you something that I don't know, but I went out to Los Angeles and I listened to what everybody had to say. I mean, physically, I listened, and they said, like it's really hard to get your foot in the door. You're going to have to do this and this and this. And I thought, I got to shoot the thesis movie back in college. I got picked out of all these students. My scripts are better than theirs. I've got a pretty cool resume, but you got to start small. You can't just expect that you're going to walk in there and get an entry level job right away, even on just a big budget movie, even if it's entry level. You got to work for free. You got to make connections. And I would say start as small as you possibly can, cherish every single connection, and make a good impression on people. And there's no reason for someone to really take a leap of faith in you when there is a million other people that have proven themselves that are trying for the same thing. So start small. Make shorts if you want to direct movies or if you want to write, and get your buddies to act in them. And as you start doing it, you'll start laying out your own path. You'll be able to see it. Start small and just grow from there, if that makes sense. And then, when I did my first movie, I had to pay for it. It was a feature-length movie that I paid for, but at least I knew what I was doing because I started small. And by the end of the year, it looks like I'll be making my money back. It's on Amazon, and it's been viewed over 100,000 times in the past 3 months.
Okay, great, great. So I know you got the upcoming movie that you're working on right now, but what
Yeah.
else is in the future for you?
In the future, I'm just really interested in trying to keep things more simple. I did go from working, several days a week moving furniture and then working part-time fire gigs on the side and marketing a movie and working on another one. And so if I can just kind of focus on, I really like working and I don't like sitting around too much. If I can just focus on a little bit of part-time firefighting and keep on just writing my scripts and just focusing on the next project at hand. And then I'll say one other thing. Learning how to market your movies is huge. I'm reading a book on it right now, using Facebook advertising. And just if you can become your own distributor, spend a lot of time learning that. And that's what I'm going to be spending like my next year doing. And
Okay.
it's, like I said earlier, it's not as sexy as getting in there and just directing a movie. But if you can learn the business side, then you'll be able to build a career out of it.
Okay, so you're distributing your movie yourself.
Correct. Yeah, I turned down a couple of offers actually, just for the learning experience of it, and because I like the hustle of it. I like to spend the time doing it, and so far it's working out pretty well.
Okay, so I'm venture to say you're probably learning a lot in that experience too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, learning is important. Even if maybe a distributor would have been able to get me a little bit more money, the fact that I'm doing this myself, it's teaching me the questions that I'll be able to ask a pretty legit distributor in the future. Yeah, just knowledge is power.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, well, that's pretty much all we have for you, and we appreciate your time and doing this interview for us. And we're going to post it on our YouTube site, so everybody out there will watch this interview and subscribe and hit the notification button on our YouTube site. I will be letting you know when it's posted. So
Awesome.
Again, thank you so much for doing this interview, and
yeah, thanks
wish
for
you
having
all
me
the
on
best
here.
on this movie and the next.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll let you know when Movers Ultimate's ready. Should be start shooting in September. Hopefully, have it out summer 2021.
Great. Yeah, let me know. I'd love to check it out. So.
Awesome. Don't Run's on Amazon. Go watch it.
Right.
It's free.
Don't Run is on Amazon. Go and check that out. It's a great movie. I loved it.
Thanks,
all right.
bud.
Take care, Ben.
All right. Later. See ya.